Hello and welcome to LB Presents Unite on Purpose, a purpose-driven movement towards global unity. I've set up this channel because I've been interviewing purpose-led businesses every night about how do you build a brand to grow a business, to impact an industry and literally shift the world. And so my belief is that institutions alone won't make the change, and the change will come from businesses, brands. And so every day I've interviewed all different businesses that are on a journey to make that impact. And today I am interviewing Paul, who's come through the accounting world, and he is all about shifting the accounting industry and really creating the face of modern accountants. So I don't really know a celebrity or a guru in the accounting industry. Do you, Paul?
I'm just wondering who it might be, Lindsay. I am wondering who it might be.
I'm wondering that. So thanks for joining me on the show today, Paul. It's a pleasure to have you on. And I'd first off like to kick off with understanding, and for the viewers, who are you? How did you get into this world in the first place? And talk to me a bit about, your background, your journey, and where you are today.
Yeah, cool beans. Started a business with my dad back when I was 20, going on 21, as green as they come, didn't know anything about business. And we started a furniture business. My dad was in the furniture industry. He got fired on Christmas Eve, and we together started the business up on New Year's Day. It was one of those. And I went on a journey with my dad over a number of years, and realised how exciting it was to be a business owner. And so I'm now 50 something or other, and 30 odd years into running various different businesses. And during that time, I've worked with 7 different accountancy firms.
Wow.
And realised that there's 2 types of firms, 2 types of accountancy firms. Those that look backwards and just tell you what you already know. And there's a different type of accountant who's got more than one eye on the future, and is actually genuinely interested, genuinely wants to make a difference to their business owner clients. And I experienced 2 out of 7. So 5 that didn't, 2 that have made a profound difference to me as a business owner and my life and the journey that we've been on with my family. And it's, for me, it's how come all accountants don't do that? Because every business owner who sets up a business or runs a business is taking risks, is challenged on a daily, weekly basis, and deserves to have earned the right to the support of a savvy, caring accountant that humanizes the numbers. Only when accountants connect finance up to feelings do they start to connect at such a deep level with their business owner clients, and then they make a difference.
So you've talked a lot about some different topics there, and I'm going to take you back first to working with your dad.
Okay.
And there are many viewers that are watching this that are very interested in understanding entrepreneurial-led families and what does it mean to be an entrepreneurial-led family. And so I'd just like to get really an understanding around, I came from an entrepreneurial family as well. My dad had his own business, so did my 2 brothers, so did my grandparents on both sides. Wow. So I've always had that around me. What was that like for you, A, working in a family business, and B, like being an entrepreneur with your dad that had just lost his business and then having to rebuild a new one?
Well, my dad's a miner's son, so I'm only 2nd generation entrepreneur, if I can call myself that. So always have my dad in a ridiculously high regard, partly because he was brave enough to leave, not go down the pits. All credit to his dad for that, for not letting any of his sons go down the pit. And then for leaving the Northeast and then finding a path in the world of upholstery, and building a business with a colleague who financed it, and then when that didn't work out, actually going, blow this, I'm going to do it myself. And that piece of it was easy if I was working at Lucas Aerospace in a big conglomerate at the time, and it was driving me nuts because I just did not fit in that corporate world. So it was an easy decision for me to go, right, I'll just come and help Dad. Don't expect to earn any money. We'll just see what we can do. And I bought this beautiful red Escort 1300 Sport, and I'd only owned it for a few weeks and then swapped it for a white van so we could deliver furniture. I've never forgiven my dad that.
So what was it like being in that entrepreneurial life with your dad in the early stage of a business? Because I know I'm on my 4th business and I know how tough it is starting and running a business, and it's all hours, you've got no money,
cash shortage,
struggling month by month. Like, what was that like as a young person with your dad trying to build out a business? And
Well, the first when we got it started, it was I've just come to learn. I was just in learning mode, so that bit was easy. And then I actually returned to finish my degree because I had about a year with my dad, and then went back and thought, right, I'm going to finish my degree, and then stayed out of the business for a couple of years. And then when Kate and I wanted to start a family, got back involved again. And at that point, the business was ticking over, doing a few hundred K's worth of sales, and it was hand to mouth, and and Kate and I wanted to start a family, but there was no money in the business, so we had to grow the business in order to fund me to then fund the family. And it was just a grunt, but enjoyable nonetheless. I don't have anything other than fond memories of that time, but it got really challenging when I realised there was perhaps a different way to run the business, which conflicted with my dad's way of running a business, and then all of a sudden we had some interesting challenges, and it had a big impact on me physically and mentally, and mine and my dad's relationship for a while. We've since got over that, and we're best buddies now. He's still with us, but it was that clash of old school and new school I found really hard, and I think my dad did as well, because he was absolutely right. He knew he was absolutely right, and I knew I was absolutely right, and so we did that a lot, and that was the toughest bit.
So I'm going to talk to you about old school and new school, and I'm going to bring you into today, because you've gone into an industry that is of a mindset, and I know this very well because I've worked with different accountants and so forth, that is either very, very old school mentality, or actually trying to move the industry in a new school way of thinking and struggling to get to grips with what on earth is going on. So first off, what made you go into the world of numbers? Because I believe you are brand marketing background trained. Is that correct? More than you are really the financial side of things.
Sales and marketing. Yeah.
Right, sales and marketing. And so it's quite a transition to go from sales and marketing into what I would describe as quite a traditional industry.
It is.
What was the transition point? How did you end up there?
I was actually, interestingly, I'd taken over. I kicked my dad out, or rather, he'd retired. I'm not sure which one you want to take, but he'd retired, and we'd grown the business into something quite special, and then hit actually 3 really rather big bumps in the road. One was my health. I had a serious health issue, ended up in hospital. A recession hit. And then
what year was the recession? I've done 2 recessions. Which one was this one?
All right, so we're back in the late 90s. Yeah. No. It's in the
later one, the late 90s.
Late 90s.
Yeah.
And the first thing people stop spending money on is furniture, and so it just ceased to exist. So we ran into challenges. We just bought into a lease in Chelsea Harbour, which was just sucking cash out of the business. So there's 3 decisions or non-decisions that resulted in the business actually running into real difficulties. And I refinanced it. We got it back out the other side, got it ready for sale. And then just as we were about to sign on the dotted line, my team, I mismanaged my team, and they went and set their own business up. So I had nothing to sell, in essence, because they'd taken the best customers and the designs and all the rest of it, and I couldn't be doing with a legal battle. So I was flying solo with 3 children, 1 on the way. And Kate said, "You're going to get a job." I went, "No, I'm not. I'm going to set up a training company." And within that, someone invited me in to have a look and hook up with a couple of guys who ran a network of accountants. Long story short, they invited me in to do some training. I ended up as marketing director, then I ended up as managing director over a 5-year window, and got what I call my apprenticeship in the accountancy profession, because I was exposed to hundreds and hundreds of accountants on a regular basis. and learned the industry, or learned what they did do and what they didn't do and what they should do but don't.
Okay, so what year was that you've finally found that you really learned the industry? What year would you say that was?
So I've been working with accountants for 18 years. I set my own business up again 13 years ago. So 5 years before that was when I kicked into the accountancy profession. So what's that, 18 off 20? That's 2002.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you my question. I'm going to shut the door as well because my children are downstairs doing their scales on the piano.
Good.
So, yeah,
very scales
efficient.
on the banjo.
Very efficient. All right, so I'm going to ask you my question, then I'm going to kick into where we are now and what you're going to do for the future with the whole industry and market. First off, Paul Shrimpling, what are you known for in the industry?
I'm known for challenging accountants, challenging the way they think and what they do, and driving them to installing new habits that make a difference to their team, their clients, and the numbers everyone achieves.
And what did you unite on purpose with? What was your line? Humanizing numbers. Right. Okay. So this is where we're going to start. Okay. So you are in the world of accounting. And I know, look, for my viewers, you may be sat here going, accountants. And I came from a world of consumer and fashion and style and so forth. And I've actually been in the world of accountants a few times. And I have to say, it's a very interesting industry to be in, because on one hand, and that was my opening line with Paul, I don't know any celebrity accountant, nor do I know any guru accountant. And so there's a huge transition point for the whole of the industry to move from being a faceless industry, which is what it is at the moment, to being an industry with a face. Somebody that people can understand not only about just numbers and number crunching, but somebody that actually creates the emotional connection with the customer and really drives actually the growth and scale of the business, as well as the purpose of why they're in business. So the reason why I say this and I introduce this is so that the viewers can get an understanding of the accounting world. And now I'm going to ask you, what's your take on the industry? And actually, if I said to you in a trend space where the market's come from and where the market is today, give me some future gazing on where you think and believe the market can go to, and then we'll discuss around your purpose.
Okay, so accountants historically have met their clients once a year and shared with them their historical numbers. So that's the past. The future is about more regular dialogue, more regular contact. The past was about the numbers that show up on a profit and loss account and a balance sheet. The future is going to be about the numbers that predict and drive the success of a business. So it's still numbers.
You might say that that's already happening today. Like, I now know that there are people, regular accountants that come and see them, and they're also looking at how to drive the future of a business growth.
Lindsay, there's a lot. There's a lot of accountants who are talking that, but talking it and doing it is very different. Now, we're on the cusp of that coming. You know, the likes of the technology, the Xeros and Intuit QuickBooks of this world have made the accountants wake up a little and take seriously the fact that the technical compliance accountancy work that they have been doing will be done more and more by the technology, which is just a game changer. I think it's excuse my reference, but I think it's a gift from God, because it frees up the accountant's time to do something that enables them to have a dialogue more often, more conversations more often with their business owner clients about how to influence that business so it achieves more success.
So do you think that, and why I refer to an industry that is crying out for a face? In every single industry, there's been disruption. And most industries, it's been around technology, but particularly actually in the accounting industry, it's been technology over anything else. And you've referred to it beautifully. Xero has been the big disruptor in the market. And what Xero did very well was build what I describe as a business to people model, which means they go across B2B and B2C, and they use the accountants as the advocates to promote Xero. And what they then did was cleverly go into a consumer market and went to Costco. And what that did was go direct to consumer, and the consumer then would have to buy it off the shelf and go to the accountant and go, do you use this software package? And if they don't use the software package, they might go and find an accountant that does. So cleverly, what they did was go both fields. They went accountants for advocates to promote, and then they've gone to consumer, creating what I describe as B2B and B2C, which is a new business model called business to people. What I have not yet seen, Paul Shrimpling, in the market is somebody that is leading with purpose, that has a face, that is recognized in the accounting world for not only creating growth and scale for businesses, but that actually leads with purpose and leads with impact. And what I come across with many different accountants is most of them are still stuck in the past, which is exactly like you've recognized. They only want to do your management accounts. Some of them are now recognizing its strategic growth. Handful, some of them, and if you go to the Big Four or somewhere like that, you will get that, but from a more expensive layer.
Corporate rate.
Corporate rate if you're a larger business. None yet that I can see are driving with purpose and impact, leading with purpose and impact, and creating a face of the modern accounting world. Yet the market has moved to purpose. Purpose is now in the mainstream of business. Yet accountants aren't yet leading with that in a space. They're still leading with numbers and P&L and balance sheet.
I don't disagree with that. There isn't a face. I think there'd be a strong argument to say you can walk into a town or a region and there may be someone who is that face, but nationally or internationally.
Nationally, absolutely. And somebody in the local, I would say probably in a local area, you've got the face of the town. 100%.
So there's some of those have established. But even then, I think still there's the accountants still see themselves as a back office, back room part of the business. They don't see themselves on the front foot with that yet.
And I would think that most of those accountants would shy away from being a face because they would want to be in the background and allow the business to be the focal point, and they would be the ones that would be building out the strategic side and so forth. Which accountant do you know that has a very famous book out in the market, Paul?
Well, there isn't one with a very famous book.
Oh, no, there isn't one.
But there are accountants. There are accountants with books out. So,
there are. But what have they written them about?
About how you improve the numbers.
The management accounts.
Well, no, not those numbers. So, for example, in the Southwest, you've got a guy called Rob Walsh who established a business called Clear Vision. You know, his purpose was to create a clear vision for every business owner that he worked with, both about their personal future and their business future. And I worked with Rob for a number of years. He's since sold his business. And in the accountants dealing with dentist field, he was probably reasonably well recognised in that market, and he led with purpose, but in a small way.
But in a niche. And do you think he had a vision of going more national or international, or do you think he was quite happy staying in his niche?
He was very happy staying in that niche.
So my question for somebody that might be wanting to find their asset, where do you think that my asset might be sitting within the industry? And for somebody that's sat within that industry potentially that could do something and reshape, what would you call it, the face of modern accounting?
One could call it that. One could. And build that face. I almost feel as that, when you describe that zero experience, it's almost as if the accountancy profession need a flag waver. In an idea, and I know you might, and I'd appreciate it if you'd come back to me on this. Do you put someone who is an accountant as the face of the profession, or you put someone in the space who's going, look, I'm a business owner, and if you work with the right accountant who works with you in the right way, on the right numbers, and is connected with you at a deep personal level and is led by purpose, you'll have a different business. You'll have a more successful, more enjoyable business that you're more proud of. And that's what I think needs to happen, is starting slowly to happen in the profession.
That's one way of looking at it.
Right.
The other way of looking at it is you're going down into the client base. And what I would like to see in an industry is somebody to go up into the industry. And when somebody goes up into the industry that really is the market need, they wouldn't be talking about the numbers of the businesses anymore. They'd be talking about the need of the whole of the industry. And that person would become a voice of the industry and no longer become a voice of just putting numbers into business.
Yeah.
There lies the big gap and disruptor that could be an asset for someone that could be sat there as a voice of the industry. So I'm going to ask you, Paul Shrimpling, if that person were you and you were going to stand for the industry, I'm now going to future map and I'm going to look at what that person might do. What might a person do that would stand for the industry rather than just talking about putting it in? So if I was standing for the industry, what would I be standing for the industry as a market need?
As a market, so what's the market need of the profession as a whole?
Yes.
The profession needs, as opposed to wants, the profession needs to wake up wholeheartedly to the fact that they have to be A, future focused, and B, feelings focused.
Great. And what does that mean for the industry? What would happen if that took place?
Okay, if that took place, they will be having conversations with their business owner clients that helps the clients connect better with their team and connect better with their customers. So not only will the accountant achieve that, their business owners will as well. And naturally, I think we'll be having a purpose-led conversation.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you another question. Now you've sorted the industry out. They're done. If I took you up to a societal layer, Paul Shrimpling,
right,
and you need to go and sort society out around this same issue, what would you now do as a spokesperson for society, standing for this cause?
So then we're into, you ask the easy questions then, Linz, don't you?
I always ask the easy questions.
Thanks for the the heads up on this one. So at a societal level, business owners do not get the credit for the work that they do, the taxes that they pay, the people they employ, the additional, the suppliers they're buying from, and the waterfall effect of all of that. There isn't the small business owner who employs, as a society, more than all the big companies put together, just don't get any of the credit for it. And I think what needs to happen at the societal level is people start to recognize the true deep value that business owners bring to their local community, the national community, and as a consequence, the international community. They change faster than the big businesses. They adapt quicker, and no one sees it. No one the press don't recognize it. Everyone's happy to, come down hard on business owners because of some tax issue at a corporate level. Hang on a second, there's millions of small businesses, people, families running small businesses, And actually what needs to happen is those people get the due credit for the work that they put in and the things that they sacrifice.
Okay. I'm going to ask you my last question.
Thank goodness for that.
You've ticked off your box, but the last question of this little bit, you've ticked off your box of society. Now I'm putting you on the world stage, Paul.
Thanks very much.
And you're now going to speak to the world. And you're going to talk to them about what's going on around a world issue now, not just society, but what's one world issue that you would go and talk about in still your sphere of helping, the accountants and the business owners and so forth. What would you go and talk about? What would be your piece to unite everyone on purpose?
Business owners work in isolation. Let's get connected. Let's connect business owners up so that they, and around what? And I know it's feeding into your camp, Lindsay, but business owners have to connect at a deep, meaningful, values-based level, and therefore that will be led by their intrinsic purpose. What matters deep down to those people. But on a world stage is you connect. If you imagine the scale of the interconnectivity between all small businesses, what that would look like. It's sort of similar to once we had a telephone system and now we've got the internet, and all of a sudden there's millions and millions of bits of data on in the cloud. What if we could connect on a similar scale, every business owner in the world, on purpose? That would therefore make a bigger difference to their team, to their clients, and their local community, if not the world community.
Okay, so you've been on the L&D program with me, and you've also been in sessions with me. You've been in schools with me. Where do you want to play? Do you want to play in the business layer that you just started talking about at the beginning of the interview?
Yeah.
Do you want to play in the industry layer that you just started talking about? Would you like to play in the societal layer, or would you like to play in the world layer?
I think it's probably at the societal layer, Linz. That'd be the top layer, I think, for me.
That's where you lit up, Paul.
Right.
The societal layer. And today, and I'm just going to say this to the viewers, today, Paul was on my L&D program and he said to me, "Oh, Lindsay, I don't know what my asset is. And if anybody wants to know about asset or building a business around an asset or a personal brand around your asset, then you might want to come and log on to the L&D program and you can have a look at that." But what I will say to you, Paul, is when you came on, you really do know what the asset is of what you're building. What do you think it is?
I think it's all around me and my ability to communicate about the connectivity between business owners and accountants. But it's business owner to business owner, and accountants just happen to be one of those business owners. But because accountants are connected to virtually every business in the world, they're arguably the best advocacy channel for that.
So when I asked you about that business layer, you gave me a very pragmatic conversation like you just did then. When I asked you about the industry layer, you lit up more. When I asked you about the society layer, and when you watched this back, that's when you really engaged.
Okay.
So what my suggestion to you would be, as you're building out your business and you're looking to do this and unite on purpose, stay in the societal layer, because that is where your true building your profile into an asset sits. And what you need to do if you want to go and build your brand to shift an industry to make a positive change in the world is the industry needs somebody to lead the change. They don't need somebody to tell them what to do with the accounting practices. You're still in the accounting practices. And when you come up to the societal layer is when you will have a voice. Right. And in the industry, who's the one with the famous book again? In the accounting industry, what's the name of the person in the?
Well,
no, there
isn't one. Yeah, there isn't one. Yeah,
oh yes, there isn't one.
Yeah.
And I think, viewers, the person that could sit in that space with the book, in the societal layer, speaking for the market and not deep diving into the industry, could be a man called Paul Shrimpling. Thank you very much for letting me interview you today. It's been a wonderful interview.
Thank you for the lesson, Lindsay.
I would like to say it's been an absolute joy. And I will say this, Paul is an absolute star. He has been working in an industry tirelessly for how long has it
18
been?
years.
18 years. And there is no one more knowledgeable than the industry. And the industry is ready for a shift. And when I work with somebody, I do try and get them into a mindset and into a space where I can get them to see their true value, the true purpose of what's sitting inside of them, and remember who you are and why you're on this planet. And I will say that for somebody that's worked in an industry for 18 years with as much knowledge of what you've got with the industry, to go up to the society level and actually turn your profile into an asset and systemize the profile that sits underneath you, and actually systemize the societal layer and not the industry layer, and certainly not the business layer.
Right.
That's where you will find huge growth, and that's where the industry might make a shift.
Brilliant. So you've now created a whole raft of more questions that I need to ask. We'll
Always.
do those. Systematize the societal level, right? Okay.
And for anybody that's watching this program, if you would like to come and join the L&D program, if you would like to come and unite on purpose, Paul has been around us, and we had hundreds of businesses coming and uniting on purpose with us. And Paul, what was it like to come into the campaign for the day, for the morning, and unite on purpose together?
Enlightening is probably the one word answer.
And so anybody that would like to join us, we are still uniting on purpose through the campaign. And thank you so much, Paul, for joining the program today. And we are out of time. It's been half an hour, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for coming on and being a good sport.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks, Lindsay.
And thank you everyone for tuning in to LB Presents. It is another night where I get to interview some incredible people, and that was Paul Shrimpling. And I have to say, he will be the one that will have that book out in the accounting industry, because hey, who else is going to build a brand, to shift an industry, to make a positive change in the world in the accounting industry? Now, if you would like to come and join us on Bob Earth, then you will find all these fantastic businesses that I am interviewing every single night. And you may want to come and build a brand to impact change in the world. And remember, subscribe on my YouTube channel just by clicking the button below, because every night I'm going to be interviewing somebody different. And these are all incredible people from incredible industries. But remember, it's a quiet revolution. And I'll see you next week. And on Tuesday mornings, we run a free webinar at 9 a.m. So if you UK time. So if you would like to get any of that information, then go on to the Business of Brand website, and you can subscribe to the webinar and pay it forward to the business community, where we have over 2,500 businesses that have now joined our webinar series that's been running for 20 weeks. And come and visit us on bobearth.com. See you then.